I'm going to start off by telling you something you may find a little surprising, but the state of investigative journalism in America is pretty good. Investigative reporters and editors, the professional organization on whose board I serve, used to have 5,000 members, but we still have 4,400 or 4,500. There are lots of terrific investigations being done by local newspapers and TV stations and radio stations, and by these new nonprofit organizations like ProPublica all over the country. The real problem is that all reporting should be investigative, and a lot of routine reporting has gone away. And the best example I can tell you of that is what happened in the little blue-collar suburb of Los Angeles called Bell. Weeks go by when there is no reporter covering the meetings of the city council. This is not unusual. It goes on all over the country. And so in this little suburb of Bell, there was literally no reporter covering the city government. And so the city fathers voted themselves these tremendous salaries. The city manager was making, I believe, $800,000 a year. City council members are getting in the neighborhood of $250,000 a year. But if local government is run by kleptomaniacs and they steal the public's money, if no one's there to report it, it just goes on. And indeed, the LA Times got onto this story because a woman went to the LA Times and said, bad things are happening. And the first time she called, she was pushed away. She went a second time, and she was pushed away. Third time, she got somebody else who put her through to someone that led to the really excellent job the Times did, the arrests, the indictments that all flowed out of this. It is, however, I think, in the day-to-day coverage of most things that we have the major crisis in American journalism. And so the fundamental work of watchdogging government is not being done. Investigative reporting is expensive. It requires getting journalists who know how to find things that are hidden, things that are not announced. It requires journalists who have the confidence in their own work to say, this is what's news, not what the mayor said. That may well be news. Somebody else can cover that. Not what the president said, but what wasn't said and what isn't readily available to see. And who also have the skills, by the way, to navigate through all sorts of things you never see. Threats against them in terms of their career, their livelihood, threats of litigation, efforts by people to create problems for the news organization or the reporter in unrelated areas of their life. Investigative reporting is not the business of leaks. That's really not investigative reporting. The Washington Post during the Ben Bradley era, he was the editor of the Washington Post during Watergate, often ran big front page stories that were posed as investigations. The lead would be, da-da-da-da-da, the Post has learned. But if you read carefully and skeptically and got down to about the 35th paragraph, you would suddenly find out that this is actually the draft of some report by the staff of the committee that the senator being quoted is the chairperson of. That's not investigative reporting. Investigative reporting requires fundamentally understanding this, how the world works. Most people go through life and they have no idea. Most journalists go through their careers and they know how to quote people accurately, but they do not know how the world works. They don't understand what motivates people. They don't understand the systems that are in place. They don't understand human behavior. Investigative reporters become very good at figuring out, why is this person doing that? And it's rarely, by the way, that most people don't do things for bad reasons, even mobsters that I know. They don't do things for bad reasons. They do them for what they think are right reasons. I spent many, many hours in 1986 and 87 with the mob's #2 hitman on the West Coast. I actually had him in my home. And my daughter, my 7th child, Molly, who's now a lawyer in Canada, sat at the kitchen table with Harry Kaloudouris bouncing her on his knee while I made us coffee. And he told me about a couple of people he had murdered. Harry was no threat to me. Harry was in a private justice system. run by people who are a separate subculture. And if he killed you, it's because you did things that are under the rules of that system that you had agreed to and participated in, had put you in violation of them in the view of somebody. It wasn't any threat to me. It wasn't any threat to you, unless, you know, you're a gambler who borrowed money and didn't pay it back, or slept with a mob boss's spouse or child, something like that, and then Harry'd whack you. But you have to understand how people talk, and how to get them to talk to you, and how to understand their motivations. Now I'm going to